Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Abdullah and I'm gonna give you a little bit of an insight to my story of how I became a Muslim, inshallah. First start by saying I was born in this country, I was raised in this country, pretty much all over the country, travelled about with my family, living in many different parts of the country, from up north down to London to Kent, back down to London eventually, and here I've resided for most of my adult life from the age of, well, all of my adult life from the age of 12 onwards really. I first became aware of Islam when I was at school. There was fellow students at my school that they fasted. We knew they was Muslim, but we didn't really know much about Islam. So then I didn't really think much about Islam at all, to be honest with you. I've always had a strong belief in God though, always believed in God, the one and only God, Allah, but was just misguided at the time. I then became aware of Islam in its entirety when in 2001, obviously a lot of people was aware of Islam at this time, when the attacks on the Twin Towers and things like that took place. I wasn't for Islam at this time at all, to be honest with you. If you asked me to be a Muslim 3 years ago, I'd laugh at you. Actually, I've been Muslim a year and a half now, just over a year and a half, yeah. So but if you'd asked me 3 years ago if I'd been a Muslim, I probably would have laughed, you know. It was a strange thing to me. I didn't know what it entailed. I didn't know how the worship took place. I didn't know what they was worshipping. For me, it was just an alienation thing, not of this land. You know, but growing up, I led a bit of a rough lifestyle, got bullied a bit as a child, you know, ended up pushing some really horrible characteristics out of me over the years, to the point I was 18 and I just was rebellious, like didn't really care about authority, you know, done everything possible that I could to mess my life up really, you know, and due to this way of lifestyle, I ended up in and out of prison, you know. I come from a family where we wasn't that family orientated, you know. I'm not going to go into much details about my family, but weren't very family orientated, you know. Used to come back home from school and I didn't really experience much of a family life, you know. Didn't know my mum. Grew up with my grandparents, which wasn't that much better for me either. But yeah, you know. But yeah, I ended up getting kicked out in the street when I was 16, due to no fault of my own. You know, obviously my grandparents from Ireland, so it's quite harsh, quite strict, a bit too strict. You know, didn't really have the values of how to look after children very well. So it did end up leading me into a lifestyle that I look back on now and I regret. You know, like I said, I was in and out of jail from the age of 18 onwards, and when I hit, I think it was like 20, 21, I was in prison for a while. No, when I was 19 actually, yeah, because I turned 21. Islam was on the climb then, but I didn't really receive much of a positive image of Islam while I was in prison. It seemed more of a gang than a religion. People joined Islam for protection, as they would say. They weren't giving very good dawah. So in a sense, I was actually turned away from Islam being in prison. Many revert stories, as you probably hear, most people embraced Islam when they was in prison, but I was actually turned against Islam when I was in prison because there was still a lot of Jahil Muslims that lacked a lot of knowledge about Islam at this time. May Allah guide them, and hopefully Allah has guided them since. I mean, but like I said, I wasn't for Islam, so I come back out on roadside again, as they'll say, and just carried on with my lifestyle, thinking I was a good Christian, you know, which in essence, in the long run, turned out to be wrong, you know. But ended up going back to prison again, and this time was when my sister died of a cocaine overdose, and naturally, in a situation like this, anyone will want to turn to God. And it wasn't here that I turned to Islam, but I did turn to God more seriously, and I sought out God with a sincere heart. And yeah, I come back out of prison, I embraced Christianity with all my heart at this time, thinking, yeah, this was the way. But then, alhamdulillah, I come out, and Malagadin, there was one of my Muslim friends who isn't the best practicing Muslim, but he'd always take the time to tell me a little bit about Islam here and there. And he used to just tell me one that we used to sit there, subhanAllah, and we used to do things together. I'm not going to say what we used to do, you know, but we used to do things together, and he used to tell me a little bit here and there, and eventually just started making sense to me what he was saying. Everything I heard about Islam and what I thought about Islam turned out to be a lie. You know, when I was in prison, I was put in a cell with a friend of mine who was an African fella. He proper believed in Christianity, and he was a Pentecostal church follower, and he had a lot of strong beliefs, and he actually told me about Islam as the nation of Islam, whereas they believe the white people is the devil. And I've later learnt that they're not even considered Muslims, you know. They are completely out of the fold of Islam. They're not, if they claim to be a Muslim upon the knowledge that they understand, they're not a Muslim, you know. So we have to know, it's about learning what Islam actually was and what it entailed, and finding out that Muslims did believe in Jesus Christ, they did believe in Moses, they did believe in Abraham, and John the Baptist, as it is in the Bible, Yahya, as we say in Islam, and Jesus is Isa. But I found out that it matched up with what I believed in God, and not what Christianity forced me to believe in. And logically, everything within inside Islam made sense, and there was not a contradiction. There wasn't anything unanswered. Anything that needed to be answered was there. Like the hidden past of Jesus that is not made aware of in the Bible, and how Jesus come around, you know, how the miracle of Jesus was, how he actually spoke as a child, you know, all these kind of things. And there's many other miracles within the Quran that I just looked at it and I was actually blown away. I couldn't believe what I saw, you know. And growing up a white English person in an English country, you know, when I first embraced Islam, it was strange amongst the people I knew, you know. But Allah's guiding me through it, and everybody I know accepts that I'm a Muslim. To my face, they may say different behind my back, Allah knows best, they probably do, some of them, you know. But the fact of the matter is that I feel guided. I 100% solely believe in my heart that Islam is the truth. There's no doubt about it. And when comparing Islam to other religions, you can actually see the contradictions within other religions and see where the falsehood lies, you know. Yeah, so my journey to Islam it's been a bit more difficult than explained here, but as my man tells me, there's only 15 minutes of footage to be filmed for this, you know. So it's just a basic insight of how I came to Islam. You know, it completely changed my life around after that. I realised that when a sin was a sin, it is a sin, and you do feel remorse for it. As a Christian, I carried on selling cocaine, I carried on dealing with skunk, I carried on taking drugs, going out in clubs, partying, and always had this in the back of my mind, oh, Jesus Christ has died for my sins. So, you know, once the blood that Jesus touched the earth, that I'm going to be forgiven and stuff like that. But this is not the case, you know. There's only one way to seek God's pleasure, to attain God's pleasure, and that is to go to God directly. You know, God has sent us here solely for the worship of Him, and we can only attain His pleasure by worshipping Him, and we can only attain His pleasure by going directly to Him, inshallah. You know, so I just woke up one day. This is why I say it's funny. I just woke up one day, and it was like the truth just hit me, just out of the blue. I just said, I'm going to be a Muslim today. That's it. I've decided. And I went down to the mosque, Lewisham Mosque in Catford, and I spoke to a brother named Ilyas Townsend, you know, and he gave me the conditions of Shahada, what it was to be a Muslim and how, and by accepting these things that we can become a Muslim. And the conditions was to believe in Allah, to believe in the final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to believe in all the messengers before, to believe in all the divine revelations, to believe in the hellfire, to believe in paradise, the angels, to believe in preordained destination, whether it's good or bad, all these kind of things, you know, which is also a pillar of Iman. But after explaining all these things to me, it was what I believed, and I did believe in God. I did believe in the last messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I did believe in all the messengers before Jesus, Moses, Abraham. And I believed in all the books, you know, what is collectively known as the Bible, but broken down into separate books. It is the Psalms, the Injil, which is the Gospels, the Torah. You know, I believed in all the books, and I believed in the Quran. So I did believe in the hellfire, I did believe in the punishment, and I believed in paradise, and I believed that everything happens for a reason. You know, that it's already written for us. So upon understanding this, then took my Shahada and embraced Islam, and from that moment became a Muslim, you know. And ever since I've been striving to please Allah. The main thing is to be upon the truth, to be upon worshipping the Creator and the Creator alone. And alhamdulillah, I feel much happier in my life doing this, you know. Inshallah, I hope that people can relate to this, because I was someone who was a football fan. I was someone who ran around on the streets. I was someone very much of an English culture, London culture. You know, I was into my music. I was a drum and bass MC. I've done all these things. You know, so for anybody who maybe have done any one of them things, then maybe inshallah that Islam can be a guidance for you as well. Inshallah. Sharia is superior. Obviously, democracy doesn't work. Democracy is hypocrisy. You know, this is a slogan we have. Democracy is a system aimed to control the people and doctrine the people in the way that they want them controlled and doctrined. Crime actually goes up every year. The rates of rape go up every year. The rates of paedophilia go up every year. You know, there's actually groups of people trying to legalize paedophilia within certain countries known as the Boys and Men Club. They're situated in America. You know, so you have to understand that the law of man does not work. The point being is that mankind does not know best for mankind. Mankind will never know what's best for mankind. Mankind will think they know what's best for mankind, and mankind will always try to implement their law to try to suit their way of life. Before you know it, paedophilia may even be allowed in this land. Yeah, the jail sentence of a paedophile is what, 12 months now, do 6, come out early on half, and then he comes out and does the same crime again to somebody else's child. You know, the sentence of a rapist, I've been in prison, I've seen rapists and I've seen them get less than 3 years. Yeah, come out in a year and a half and they're back to do the same crime again, because these sort of crimes, they're not something that can be controlled by man. Like I say, Allah knows best, and Allah knows the best law and the best reward and the best punishment for anything. Being that Allah is the legislator, Allah does own the earth, and Allah does know what's best for man. And if we refuse to accept the law of Allah, and we refuse to accept that Allah is the creator, and refuse to accept that Allah knows best for us when we do not know what's best for ourselves, then we're not going to better our lives. We're going to be waging war against the creator. Who is creation to rule creation? Shouldn't the creator rule the creation? You know, so obviously on the basis of Sharia, I'm 100% completely in the favour of Sharia. I see the benefits of Sharia, whereas I see the non-benefit of democracy. And inshallah, I hope that the people of Britain will wake up to this and realise that democracy doesn't work for them either, inshallah.